how the thread is completely tangled, and therefore it's not going to sew, and it will give us sewing problems because the machine shows us top below, it leaves it loose, it ties a knot, it piles up thread, and above it looks normal, and we're going to see why it's getting tangled. Well, here we go. Let's zoom in the camera to see how the thread is completely tangled, and therefore it's not going to sew, and it will give us sewing problems. So first of all, we are going to discard the threading, which must go through the thread pulling spring. Here it should pass through the tensioner, and finally it should pass here the lever to pull threads, and then the needle will go down. And the second step we'll see in this video is the tensor that causes it. The main cause of this issue, which after threading we must check if the tensioner is providing enough tension to the upper thread, as it would be the main cause. Story of corruption. This tension, we see all the thread accumulation there, we can see the problem, and we are going to remove the bottom part. So we're going to discard the tensor, grab the thread. Once the thread is threaded to the needle, and we see that the tension is set to 4, and see how the thread comes out very easily. We're going to increase it to 6, and what I'm going to see if there's a difference, or if there's no difference. We'll see here we might find default and see that there's no difference. Let's set it to its maximum tension, which would be 9, and we see that the thread still comes out the same. So there's no tension in the upper thread. We see it's at 9, and we see the thread coming out very easily, just as if it were in 5. We see it's exactly the same, and check the thread tension discs for any type of thread or something that hinders, so the thread is entangled. And we're going to see how we see the disc there filled with threads. Here we see the black thread, and this is what makes it. The discs are not closed, and the thread we're going to sew it stays straight without any tension. We can see this is the main reason why it gets tangled below, and the upper thread is left without tension. And this often happens with sewing machines. So we take tweezers and remove everything that obstructs the discs so they can close and provide tension. Let's remove this thread. We mount the tensioner and we'll stitch again. Alright, we have the machine ready. Well, here we see the seam, and we see that if the problem was there, the tensioner, we see that it now tangles us good over it. Alright, there we go. And we can check that if we turn the machine manually. We see that the thread no longer gets tangled and continues straight.